Are we live?
Yes, we're here and we're now broadcasting. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the three Black Pratt grads. My name is Kenneth Nelson. I'm here with my good friends Mark Skinner and Greg Claycohen, and we do these talks twice a week. We come together to talk about what we love most, or yes, we all love most, photography, and what we have the most experience in. To some degree, and to a great degree, we've all had experience not only as fine art photographers, but as commercial photographers as well. So that's the level of history we bring to these conversations. This conversation today is a thought of mine that I've been having for quite some time, and it has to do with the life importance of photography in general. With the level of attention that we are tend to pay to particular images, I think there's something that's been missing or going missing. So let's take, for instance, I'll give you, for instance, out there. You've had a family photograph in a shoebox for the last 5 years, maybe even the last 15 years, depending on your age, and you haven't seen that image in that amount of time. You pull the image out of the shoebox, and lo and behold, you're overcome with joy because you found this image. But then you remember that you put it away 5, 10, 15 years ago. So ask yourself, what level of importance is that image to you if you really didn't miss it in those 5, 10, or 15 years? Photography is one of the life's many millisecond things that happen in a period of your lifetime. So I've been thinking about, what is the most important part of photography? Is it the photographing, or is it the actual image itself? If we look back to some very famous photographers, some of them never even processed their film. So the question is, was it really more about the shooting aspect of it or the final image of it? I'm up to thinking that neither one was really important, because to some degree, photography
Wow.
is just transient and temporary. And that is the sort of argument that I'm going for tonight. And these gentlemen can either agree or disagree, however they want to see it. Or if I didn't explain it more, maybe they'll explain it their perspective when they speak to it. So, Mark, we start with you in terms of
Okay.
answering the question, and if you want to show some images relative to your reactions to the question or the
All
statement.
right. I just want to say one thing before you show any images.
Uh,
I think I thought about this question in terms of both the reality of the importance of photography, and as well as the rhetorical sense of what's the importance of photography. And in terms of the reality, I think the most important type of photography are twofold. There are two types, rather. One is forensic for photography, because that is the kind of photography that helps solve crimes. And without that kind of photography, a lot of crimes would not have been solved, because it would be only about witnesses or what could be found on the scene at the time, without photography providing a record of what was photographed, what was happened when the authorities got there. You really, sometimes you just don't know, and a lot of the crimes have been solved that way. The second one, believe it or not, is aerial photography, because it provides two types of services. Number one, it helps rescue people. You know, when you use aerial photography, and I'll extend it to video, you can help rescue people. And then the other thing is aerial photography in times of war, help you decide exactly where your weapons should go so that you don't
okay.
It was frozen, mercifully. Get files for a
And
faster internet service.
photo. Oh yeah, I hear you. Right.
Yeah, we lost a great bit of what you just said, Mark.
Oh no! Story short, I'll just say that the best type of photography, actually the most important type of photography to me, is forensic photography, and then also because it helps people solve crimes, and then the other part was aerial photography, because it helps save people's lives.
Okay.
And I'll send that to video. And also in times of war, it helps you understand where you should bomb without killing
unnecessarily civilians. And I think in those two cases, rather than just sort of lobbing bombs somewhere or just trying to go to a crime scene and having people remember or look at notes only, I think photography is very useful. Now, having said that, those are to me the most important because we've lived on this planet for years without photography.
Right.
If you go to the first picture,
Okay.
I think, when you talked about the idea of finding something years later, if you're someone who's doing an activity, and I like this photo that I took on the street because it kind of reminds me of still photography or the way I approach still photography, but this is obviously someone kind of doing some film on location somewhere. The really cool part is that for them, they're just doing their job. But I know that for them, it'd be really great if they happen to have a photograph of themselves, not now, but as you said, 5 years later, doing their job when they are either a bigger production house or these two individuals have gone off to their respective, stellar careers. And so in the interest of time, I won't belabor that. But I think, the idea of the sentimentality of an experience that's captured, as well as a record of the experience, is a great use for photography. I think it's vital for that. Prior to the invention of photography, we had a lot of oral traditions where people would say things, or we'd rely on paintings, but photography delineates so well, it's sort of like a drawing that we can refer to all the time. And if you go to the next picture, on when it gets a little bit more specific, what you have is people have special occasions in their lives that they commemorate with photography. Whether it's in this case, a pageant win. This individual was a pageant queen. In a particular pageant system a few years ago, and I took their photograph, and they also have a memory of this. So if they go back to pageantry, they can see the difference between how they were when they won this and how they are later. And if they don't, they always have this visual record to jog their memory. And this goes for birthday parties and graduations and weddings and all sorts of things. So, to me, the twofold, the record and the sentimentality, and I think they're vital to us now, but But I think photography is vital to us now in that they are. It helps invigorate us a great deal, and it informs us. But I never lose track of the understanding that photography is relatively new in the human experience, and I think that probably uses all my.
So are computers, but look at what they've done.
Right?
Who's next? Is that it?
Yeah. What we won't go to the questions, but let's
That's
just
it.
presentations and what you got. And if we have time at the end, we'll as open it up for questions. Okay, Greg, you're up next.
I think photography. Excuse my hand. Photography is not just a medium of documentation. It is, for a creative photographer, not a documentarian, not a person that shoots it as a device. It is a great expressive tool. And if you have a life and if you're experiencing life, or we are spirits in a human body having a human experience. Put up my first picture, please.
Okay.
Let's keep this rolling.
Okay.
Grew up in New York, blah blah blah, Times Square. From soup to nuts. If you want the technical Brooklyn or New York experience, everybody goes to Times Square. Is that it? Of course not. But I use that to capture the scope in a panoramic of Times Square. All the energy, all the life, all the lights. Is that all it is? No. This was a very important time in my life. I had come home to New York, revisiting it, and I was seeing it as a tourist. I was like, okay, yeah, I know that's not the real New York for me. I need to go to Brooklyn. I need to go to Queens. I need to do some other things, up in Harlem, have some soul food. I need, go to Alvin Ailey or something to have a different experience that I feel is what I need to say New York to me. Let's go to the next one, just for expedience. Loved Brooklyn Heights. Absolutely. Did so much of my work down there, studying down there, meditating down there, dating down there. I lived part of my life down there. What I loved about photography is that it allows you to be expressive in what you capture. Plenty of days out there, no clouds at all, or the clouds change. Downtown Manhattan, it's probably one of the most photographed places on earth. But it's different every day. I sit out there and I'll watch the skies change. I'll watch this change. It's the part of time of my life. When I was at Pratt, I used to go down there to run. I knew exactly running from Pratt to the Brooklyn Heights to the end and back. I think it was about 5, 6 miles, and it was a good run. I loved it. Let's go to the next one. You know, there were, and there are, and there will be all kinds of challenges in life. Photography allows you, unless you're just taking snapshots, to be emotive in what you capture. Now I'm out, I was like, I got to go to Reese Beach. I've been wanting to go to Reese Beach. I haven't been to Reese Beach because I'm on the West Coast now. I got to go to Reese Beach. I get out there, and what happens? I just happen to be out there the day that there's like this massive supercell out there and coming ashore. And I just happened to be at a place where I could see the entire storm system blowing onto me. And the best light show, the best thunder and lightning I've seen in a long time, because they really don't have pretty good thunder and lightning out here on the West Coast. Sorry. This was up close and personal. It flooded. The emergency crews were out there telling people, get inland, get somewhere because it's going to dump a lot of rain. And it did. Oh, my goodness. But, emotively, as when I came back, for a lot of family issues, there's a lot of turmoil in my life. And I equated that to this supercell, this churning storm, and it was like not just something I was capturing, it was something that was a part of me, you know. And to say that, oh, you just take a picture, photography means something. Photography means a lot to me. It's if life is there life importance to it, would I put this down and never see it again? Yeah. Would those experiences and turmoil and challenges and churning in my life ever go away? No, they're always going to be a part of it. And this is always going to be a visual representation of that for me. Next picture, please. Amazing. I got out of the city. When I was when my mother passed, I said, okay, I gotta do something. I didn't want to fly. Didn't I want to? I said I'm going to drive across country because I really didn't want to go. And one of the few places that I absolutely, positively wanted to go see were Delicate Arches at Arches National Park. And I sat up there pretty much most of the day after the trauma of getting up there. And there's like a pathway that's only about 10 feet wide, cut into the side of a mountain, and there's no guardrails. And if you take a wrong step, you'll die. Okay? I felt a life and death situation there in my life. There was a lot. I mean, I was going to see and help my family deal with the death of a family member. There was the sun rising. Is that a sunrise? Is that a sunset? Does life begin? Does life end? Does life have life itself is important? So what about photography? So what about painting? I mean, are we existentialists, where it's like life has no meaning at all? We're an accident, and nothing really matters. Fine, if that's the way you want to live your life, fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that life is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this experience. And be able to be creative enough to kudos on those before us who could draw something like this or draw an antelope or some dinner that they were chasing. But to be technologically advanced enough to be able to shoot this and capture these things, this is very important to me. Would I put it down and forget about it? Probably not. It haunts me that I haven't organized these pictures. So for me, life importance, very important. Photography of importance, very important. Can I do without it? Yeah, I could walk away from it. It would drive me absolutely bananas, but sure, I could do it. Is it that? Is it is it basics? Is it food, water, shelter? Companionship for me, socialization, whatever. No, but it's important. I got
No, it was very well said, Greg. Yeah, wow. Uh, cool. Okay, so Yeah, I've been sort of going, as I said, I've been, you know, dealing with this question, especially in the age of Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, and the transient nature of the very temporary nature of the image itself. And I've been thinking about it for myself as to if I'm supposed to take this photograph, and what does taking the photograph mean, for me? And then if I want to be an artist and share it, what does that mean to me? And to some degree, what I'm trying to figure out and trying to work through is the amount of time necessary on average to consider something worthwhile versus the time that something is not worthwhile. So, the difference between what means so much to you and want to spend as much time as you can with it versus the things that don't mean as much to you, well, you don't need to spend that much time with it. What is the value of those things, and how long is it necessary, or is it required? In a way, is there a quantifiable way to 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 basically quantify that thought, which is how much time is necessary to spend with something that's worthwhile and not temporary? It's a weird dynamic. Um, so let me just go on with my images, and I'll we can go in questions from there. Back in 88, I took this photograph, and I think it was one of the first photographs I thought that had some amazing substance to it, and I thought it would be with me for the rest of my life. And to some degree, it's a photograph. It still is. But it's been hidden away for 30 some odd years, you know? So I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean that the image is worth? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know. I don't think it has that much value because it's a temporary thing. I am emotionally tied to it, just like to some degree how Greg is tied to his images, because it's something I created. But to some degree, I'm like, okay, is that all there is? You know? And so I'll just go on with the second shot, which was another photograph taken in '88. And I'm standing on behind someone at a parade, and I just look at how their shirt and the way they're handling their shirt is very similar to the way this little sign is on the lamp. And these are my growing pains and things that I was learning to see as I was learning photography in the mid '80s. So these are things that help me to learn. And I think to some degree that's good because I've learned the lesson. Can you go back and sort of look at the lesson again and say, yeah, I'm confirming that I've learned the lesson? Then is that all there is? So that's basically what I'm going with, and that's what I've been thinking about. And again, I don't know if there's an answer to that question. I've just been asking myself the question myself. So I'll stop sharing the screen with that and just leave it up for questions.
I think in terms of the work that you've shown in terms of what's the value, I think it's twofold. The value is what is that value of the image as an art object, right? I mean, I think that's it. Is it plus or minus what X from $350 for an 11 by 14 print, right? Whatever that is, right? That's one portion of it. The second portion, and should it be framed? I think the second portion of it is how valuable is the information that is in that photograph because you as an artist value in the marketplace.
Yeah, I guess. Well, let me put it to you a different way.
Secondary market value as well.
Okay, we lost you there, so I'm not sure I got the gist of your statement.
No. What I was saying was that the value of your work, right? That particular, let's say the first piece with the gentleman with his head leaning back, right? It has value independent of you, right? It has a historical value. It certainly shows what the subways looked like in the '80s. It also shows the homeless search situation in the '80s. It also shows well, those are the two main things that shows. Then
Right.
it has value as a physical object if you create a print of that
Uh-huh.
based on the material, the scale, and the rendering and the proximity to your idea, right?
Uh-huh.
And it has and I guess in this case, it has a third value, in which is that is a value as an art object relative to your value, the value you command as an artist. And even there, as an original artwork, you may command $300, $400, $800 per print, but in the secondary market, where someone is now selling your artwork, does that now command $20,000 for the actual item, what you retain the copyright? I mean, there's a lot imbued in what's the value, and I guess for a photographer who is doing other types of work, sometimes it's a little easier to discern what that value is because there's a value to a specific customer. In your case, because you are the principal customer as the artist purveyor of your own vision, you're creating an artwork and you're saying, well, how much is it? And how much is it worth to everyone else? You set a price, and then the market decides whether what the price you've set, and you and your agent, in the gallery, they, whether the price you've set is correct or whether it's really undervalued. And if it's really undervalued, they snap it up and resell the item.
Yeah. So let me put it to it in another way. You start taking photographs. Let's say you start taking photographs when you're 15, and every year between the age of 15 and 30, you take 5,000 photographs. By the
I
time,
gotta stop you there. When you say taking photographs, you make it seem
Well-
like such an impersonal.
well,
You know-
when I say taking photographs, I'm talking about the whole thing, what encompasses your life in taking photographs, whether that's fine art, whether that's snapshot, the whole kit and caboodle. Okay, everything that you consider to take a photograph of, whether it's trivial or whether it's important. Okay, so it's the whole gamut. Your whole life, within your whole life, from every year from 15 to 30. So you take let's say on average, you take 5,000 images a year. By the time you're 30, that's 75,000 images, right? What level of importance to you do you place on those 75,000 images in 30 years? Okay, and then let's go another 15 years. Now it's 150,000 images. What is the level of importance placed on 150,000 images when you, to some degree, can't even look at 150,000 images in the course of a year?
But that's an awful, just to break a photograph down to numbers. There's a lot more to taking a picture than just how many that you're taking.
Right. Then here's the question: if there's a lot more to pictures, why are we not spending more time with them? With the ones, with the first one, with the second one, with the 20th one, with the 30th one, with the 300th one, with the 3,000th one.
But now, what do you mean by spend time with them?
What I'm saying, right? How often do you go into a museum and look at your favorite museum and spend 6 hours looking at it?
Anytime I go to a museum, I do that.
I have
Not just
6
one
hours
image.
looking at one image.
No, not
one image. No, I think, I mean, I could be facetious and say, well, if the photograph is on your website, then you are spending 24 hours a day with that image, vicariously through the web. You may not be viewing it 24 hours a day, but it is representing you 24 hours a day, right? I think the difference is what is printed and what is in this virtual medium, right? And the problem that you're talking about is that the electronic media provides so many images. How important is each one?
Well, right, and don't get me wrong. I'm not even relegating it to the electronic images. I'm talking about every image in general.
Well, I think some images last and they resonate for you. I think they live in our hearts and heads. I mean, how many photographs have we seen as photographers that were created by other photographers that we were either told to study or decided on our own we have studied because there are visual cues or ways of doing things that spoke to us and felt that we should really understand what they're doing so that we could incorporate some aspect of that work into what we do to express ourselves the way we'd like to. I mean, those photographs live with us all the time. Now, do you spend 10 hours staring at it? That's up to you. I'm sure there are some people who just, have wonderful stories about being fixated with one image by some great photographer that just stuck with them, and they felt they had to do it. But I'm not that one.
Right. And I know I guess what I'm trying to get down to in that is just the human condition. And the human condition drives our needs and our needs to fulfill our joy, our happiness. And go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead. Finish what you're
Right.
saying. I'm just
And
saying.
and it's all there. And the we are physically impossible. We're physically incapable of spending any considered amount of time with anything because we just don't have the attention span to do it.
Yeah, but I think you're documenting creativity. I mean, Greg caught up before I did. I was talking about documentation, but it's also documenting creative ideas. And Greg perfectly showed that in the 3 photographs he
Yeah.
presented. And I'm going to let you talk, Greg. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just
Go ahead.
No, but I think that's really the case. Is there's creativity that is documented as well. I think you and I, Ken, were just talking about the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History ball that's traveling around. Is going to France, right? This week, it was in Santa Cruz this week, and it's a promotional piece for the Santa Cruz Museum. But at the same time, it's an artwork where people can engage with it, and all they have now are photographs or film of this art piece in specific places where it will never be again. So
Right.
that now becomes the document of that artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So the photograph serves that purpose. And then I think on some level, there are probably a lot of people who will claim that their art photographing the ball in some other places. But it documents creativity as much as it documents anything else. And I think, the idea that one could spend 12 hours with one image is commendable. But, as you pointed out, Ken, it's not practical. You have to stay with an image as much as it gives you,
And to that, there was a time. I know I'm watching the clock. Even with the whatever, if there's something that I'm shooting now, when I was going cross country, or with picture I've taken, and oh God forgive me, help me find all of these images. I will spend literally hours on an image in Photoshop, tweaking it, dodging, bumping, adding color, subtracting color, doing different variations of it. I got so silly with one image that I really, really enjoyed. I had about 30 variations in black and white and another 30 variations in color. I started experimenting with posterization and just total color shift just to see what it would look like. The possibilities are, I won't say endless, but there are a lot of possibilities.
Right.
I mean, especially you've got access to your histogram, you've got access to all sorts of powerful dynamic tools that you can alter your digital image or analog image that you scanned.
Yep.
There's
I mean,
just so much. It's like you said, it's up to you how far you want to get. I mean, a pageant portrait, you get the color right. Even the skin, you leave it alone. You don't spend a lot of time with that kind of portraiture. I mean, street shooting, there's a lot you could do with that, but what you capture, Ken, is just so precise and so well done that you're probably not going to spend a lot because you capture what you wanted. You keep shooting till you capture what either is what's in your mind's eye, or the moment projects itself or presents itself to you, and you're there. You're ready in that moment to capture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being in the present and being in that moment and being mindful with your camera there is part of, but not just part of the creative process. It's part of, man, just being alive for me. You know,
And
and
it
to
certainly
say
makes
that
curatorial,
photography is life, a part of it. Heck yeah. I
and
mean,
it makes your curatorial process much easier too, doesn't it?
you've been investing years and years and years and years and years of your life into that little magic box.
Hmm.
You know, and to say that it's not important because you take a picture and then you don't sit with it like grandma and have tea or whatever. I mean, you could put it across from you on the table and you know, converse and
Right.
meditate on it, but you know, that's not your thing. For me,
Yeah.
I will take a picture and brother, I will spend hours with that image,
Right.
tweaking it,
Right, but
altering,
barring
just
but
staring
barring
at it if
image
it's there.
manipulation, I think Ken's question is barring image
Right.
manipulation.
Barring image
You
manipulation.
know, I mean, you could find yourself
Why?
becoming
How can you
gansy.
bar in? Why? How can you bar
Well,
images?
well,
Great.
well. You know as well as I do that there was a whole aesthetic of you get it in the camera, and you mentioned it yourself just a few minutes ago. And what you get in the camera is, what you print, and you try to
Okay,
like.
I have a hard time barring manipulation of an image.
That's fine.
Well,
I'm not
no,
saying I'm not saying you
we're
have
not
to.
saying barred from the creative process. What I'm talking about is not the creative process, but the end result. Because if
Right.
the end result is a print, is the end result a digital file on Instagram or Facebook? Those are the end results that I'm talking about. The creative process to get there, it's not part of what I'm thinking about. It's really spending time
I
with the
don't.
final product.
I don't even agree. Yes, but I don't even agree with end product. I don't think. I don't think. I mean, any illustrator would look at their work and would be happy to make more changes to it. I don't think an end product is a fair assessment for a creative image.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
the idea of what you're challenging is the idea of what a photograph is rather than a record of something with some manipulation. You're saying the sky's the limit. And in Ken's case, he's saying that the parameters of manipulation are far more leaner for him. And I think both are acceptable. But I think in all honesty, the idea that what maybe I'm wrong, Ken, but it seems like what you're getting at is the curatorial process after the fact. How much of this material has value if you've learned the lesson you thought you were going to learn. And I think as an artist, you have to be able to understand that this is your images are the language that you are trying to speak. And if the photograph that you showed, number one, is part of your visual language, then that's it, and you just kind of run with that and be able to show a continuity in that story. And then if the second one is part of that story, include it. If it's not part of that story, then you kind of go, you know what, this misses the mark. You have to be able to be brave enough to say that the photograph that I have taken is not good enough for me. And therefore, because it's not good enough for me, I can abandon it or destroy it or just put it aside until I get additional images that are good enough for me to present and hope that they're good enough for every other person.
Who was that photographer who actually burned all their negatives? I forgot who that was.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
They destroyed their negatives after. At some point in time, they destroyed them. And I think that to some degree that sort of speaks to, I guess what I was not speaks to the pinpoint accuracy of what I was getting at, but it adds to the level of questioning that I have regarding the photographs, a printed photograph or a digitized photograph as a final exhibited piece, or exhibited piece in any way, shape, or form.
Right, because
Okay.
they didn't want any mitigation of the message they were conveying. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was
Okay.
that stop? Maybe I'm wrong, but
Well, again, it's a question that I'm continuing to ask myself and continuing to meditate on because it seems to me that I'm on autopilot in a way where things are just going and it's happening and I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm liking what I'm getting, right? But the idea is that when I look at my digital archive of images, there's over 124,000 images. It's like if each one of those 124,000 images is your baby, right? Then you got 124,000 babies to take care of. And
You're a stud.
right? And the question is, again, I mean, why? You know?
Well, I think why is that, honestly, if you can look at 125,
God asked your
120,000
question what you
images
could do for that.
and say that they're all perfect,
Well, no,
and
I'm not saying they're all perfect, but even if you left it to 50 perfect, I mean that's a little bit more manageable. But if you had 1,000 perfect, is that unmanageable in terms of a collection of images that you could sit for the rest of your life with? And let's say you took
oh,
those thousand.
sure.
Let's say stop there, right? Let's put it in this terms. You stop taking pictures once you reach the 1,000th image that you like, and you take no more photographs after that.
Right.
Is that something that you think is doable?
I think that's a perfectly legitimate uh, presentation of a body of work.
Hypothetical. Do
Mhm.
you ever get the feeling like, just around the corner is the shot or is a shot that I would really love to have? And then
No,
after you get, no?
no, because that's
Wow.
that's sort of the crux of the question. Remember that comment that somebody asked the question, well, what's your best picture you've ever taken? And it says the one I'm yet to
I
take,
have, or
right?
you what?
The one I have yet to take,
Yeah.
right? So
Okay.
that basically means that everything you've taken to this point is inconsequential.
No, it
Not
doesn't. It means
necessarily.
it means they may be steps to getting to the best one.
Then
But
then you're not
for
speaking in the
me,
right terms because they're sort of I, lack of a better way for me to explain it. Nobody says exactly what they mean. They speak in hyperbole or they speak
oh
in sort of
boy,
vague
that's kind
language.
of hard to say.
Well,
It
I
is,
mean,
Greg. If someone asks you the question, right, what's your greatest picture, and you say the one I have yet to take, right,
Yeah.
then to me, literally, that means that your greatest picture is yet to take. So everything that's led up to this is really has no value.
No, that's a yes or
no,
no on or
it's
off.
a non. It's
That's
really
that's not.
in some ways it's
That's
a
an absolute.
non-answer.
That's absolute thinking.
Right, but
No,
it's
it's
also
not.
a non-answer when someone says it's the one I have yet to take, because
No, it's
basically they're
not.
saying I don't know yet. I'm still, it really just says I'm really still excited about taking photographs, and I can't just pick one and tell you what that one is. I think at the end of the day there are probably about 10 pictures, maybe 30 that every photographer has that they go, I can't shake this one. This was really good. And it may not mean anything to anyone else, but I think for the individual photographer, it means something to them. And I think,
You always have favorites. It's
yeah,
like any of your children. You're always going to have
well,
favorites.
I know I don't have favorites to my children. That's why I avoided that, because
Well, if
at
you
the
had
end
a
of the day,
hundred thousand children, you would have favorites.
I don't think. Well, I have more than one and fewer than 100,000,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
and I
But I'm
don't and
saying to
I
say
don't
this.
have a favorite. No, seriously, I don't have a favorite. But what I can
I
say,
didn't say a favorite. I said if you had 100,000 pictures or 100,000 children, I'm certain that several of them would prove to be your favorites.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's also another non-answer. It's like you have 6 kids. How many? Who are your favorites? Well, I like 6 of them really well, a lot.
Okay,
People think,
guys, we got 2 minutes before I'm going to cut this and end this conversation because we've
You
already
can end it
run a lot
now.
8 minutes over the time.
okay. But
Hey,
Um,
I,
that's
but
on you,
I
man. That's on you.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, Ken, I think your answer is in your curatorial process. I think if you have 1,000 that you just love, you're not being as strict with yourself as you need to be.
I
okay.
think I think maybe you need to branch out, shoot other
Now,
things.
I think I could cut my photographs down to about 25 in each genre easily. Below 25 would
Easily.
be, yeah, easily, and I
I'd
think
like to
it
see that.
and I think it'd be very difficult to
Each
go.
genre, I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the question. Here's the that then I'll end with this question. If you were to cut it down to those 25 or 30 or whatever your minimum is, will you be okay with destroying everything else?
Destroying.
So you no longer see them again.
Well, you know what? In my case, no, because it has to do with real people. But in terms of people who they like their photographs, but in terms of uh, like street photography,
if I were someone who, and it's easy for me to say because of my I'm not invested that in this in the way, same way. If I had 25, would I? Probably not, but I could. I mean, I could. I could
Okay.
just say, you know what? These are the 25 street photographs that are on my website. I've got high res versions of these. I could ditch everything else. Like, it's like,
Are either of you guys writers?
well, we already
I've
established.
dabbled in
that.
poetry a little bit, so.
I've done some writing. Yeah.
I mean, would you throw away your poetry?
Well, I
Uh,
haven't
Would you?
thrown away my poetry, but I have stored it away where I haven't
Okay.
seen it in
Would you
decades.
would you say, oh, there are, I'm just making this up, 5 million words in the English language. I don't think I'm going to use this 300,000 of them.
I think there are people who have made that decision
That's
very
not what I'm
successfully.
asking.
Would I do it? I do not know all 5 million words, so I couldn't say which.
No, in your creative vocabulary. I'm equating it to what Kenny just said.
I would like, honestly, as a writer, I would like to be able to do that. To say that there are entire sets of words that I wouldn't use.
Oh my
Because
God, you would like
because
to. So
no
that,
no be,
no,
because
that
I would like
doesn't
to
make any sense.
because I would like to be able to say that I can communicate every idea I have with as few
That's not, that's a
with as
non-answer.
with as
To
much.
cut your vocabulary is a non-answer. I would
Well, no,
like
no,
to
no,
be
no,
able
no.
to say this.
You asked, would you not use the vocabulary? And I'll give you a perfect example. Ernest Hemingway was very successful
I
using
asked you, you're writing, not
simple
Ernest
language.
because you're not in Ernest Hemingway's head.
No, but what I'm saying, well, I read what he said. He said he wants to use a simple, plain language, which means a lot of
And
language
you
that
believe
people
that?
use, and
You
and
know
he
how many
did.
editors he has? You have
I
no idea how many minds his work has gone through.
Well, I'm just go. You asked me as a writer. I'm talking about a very famous writer who
I'm
stated
asking
that,
you as a writer,
and
would
I've
you throw
told
away
you
words
I'd
that you
like to
could
be able to do
use
that.
for your, would you throw away words that you would use or poetry that you've written just because?
Words, yes, because I have, and I've hated doing it because they were. I love like the word transmogrify. As a matter of fact, you got after me after the word transmogrify in one of the pieces of writing I did do, and you were like, "Don't say that." And so, I had to think about it, and I went, "You know what? He's right."
Okay, guys, we're gonna leave it there for now. Um,
I
all right. Thanks for joining us. If you guys have any questions based on the conversation that the three of us had, if you agree with what Greg has spoken about, if you agree with Mark has spoken about, or if you agree what I've spoken about, leave comments in the comments section. Let us know what your thoughts are. How important is the is the final image that is you've used to your life? And how long do you intend, or what do you think is a good amount of time to spend with your images in general, to show some reverence for the fact that you've done it? All
keep
right.
shooting.
Thanks a
Put your
lot for joining
images
us. I'm
together.
Kenneth Nelson, Mark Skinner, Gregory Cleghorn. We'll see you guys next time on Three Black Grad Grads. Till then, ciao.